Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om, I bow to the Lord Vasudeva. Joy to you, friends. Today I would like to read, we're still in the second chapter. This is perhaps the longest chapter in the Gita. Stanzas 22. Just as a person removes a worn-out garment and dons a new one, so the soul living in a physical body removes and discards it when it becomes outworn and replaces it with a new one. It's so interesting to see people as they grow. You see the little baby, he looks so innocent. He's not really innocent. There are, as I have said before, two kinds of innocence, the innocence of ignorance and the innocence of wisdom. The innocence of ignorance was described by a little girl of 5 years old who was asked by a boy at her age, "Are you a virgin?" And she said, "No, not yet." And this is true. This is the innocence of ignorance. But once you've been through everything and you realize it's not yourself, it's not what you want, it has nothing to do with you. If you can throw off that hypnosis, you develop the innocence of wisdom. And truly wise people are like children again. They have no need to talk down to people. They have no need to be self-important. This is the usual thought that wise men are that way, but they're children at heart. Sometimes they have to scold because it's the only thing people will hear. But Jesus himself said, "Suffer little children to come unto me, for of such is the kingdom of God." And a friend of mine underlined that word suffer. However, the little children, they may be brats sometimes, but there is a very great difference, outwardly speaking, between them and when they grow up. When I was a child, I used to love the story of Peter Pan. I didn't want to have to grow up and think of money and responsibilities and so on. And I still don't like to think of those things. And my solution to that is to be a Peter Pan in my heart. That is to say, not to feel that I own anything. I have to do what I must do, and I try to do it as well as I can. But always try to keep in that sense of self in your inwardly, which doesn't change as the body changes. When people become old, many times they start acting old, thinking old. And well, when you're my age, you'll understand. And as I always say, they become psychological antiques. We have to get rid of that consciousness of identifying ourselves with any stage. And this is what this particular stanza of the Gita is helping us to understand, that we are not just this body. We're not all the changes that this body goes through. And when you're a businessman and have to think in terms of making a living for your family and so on, don't think my business, my family, my responsibilities. Don't think anything as yours. Don't think of anything as yours. Think it's all God. It's his show, but I will do the best for him. Nishkam karma, action without desire for the fruits. So here we are in this world, and people who think that God is angry when man errs, it's really hard to understand how God, who set things up in such a way that we're almost forced to take this world seriously and forced to sin and forced to make mistakes, why he should bother to get angry with us for doing what he set us up to do. That's not fair. The thought of an eternal hell is just an absurdity. But he gives us a chance to learn our lessons. And this is true. There was one famous, very well-to-do businessman who attributed his success to a willingness to let other people make mistakes. The usual leader will think, oh, he's got to control everything that everybody does so they won't make any mistakes, and he'll get very angry if they do make mistakes. This is foolish. People don't learn if they don't make mistakes. But as you've made a mistake, don't identify yourself with the mistake. Don't say, oh, I'm no good, I'm wrong, I did wrong. Just say, I haven't yet succeeded. I haven't got it quite right yet. You will find that if you're not identified, because identity with the body and with the stage of the body means also identity with the people around that body who will tell you to do this and tell you to do that. Always weigh in your own heart, should I or shouldn't I? Is it right or is it wrong? Don't worry if they don't like what you're doing if it's right. And don't be pleased if they like what you're doing if you know that it's wrong. Be guided more and more by your own conscience. That's what I don't like about democracy, because people will always vote for whoever will give them the most. And so the politicians learn that the more they promise, the more likely they are to be elected. And when they're elected, of course, they have to satisfy their constituents a little bit, so they try to honor some of those promises. It's usually very few. But in the process, what they're doing, they can usually, because that's their only tool for helping is money, and so what they do is spend money. And as the government spends money and more money, it can't tax people beyond what they're making. It can only tax them up to a certain point, and beyond that, they'd have a revolution on their hands if they took away everything. So they have what is known as hidden taxation. They inflate the currency. And the more the government becomes big on promises, and the more it becomes big in control of everything, the more it prints money, and the more and more the currency is debased. I tell you this for quite seriously. I think we're coming to a point quite soon when the dollar will not be worth anything. They're printing more and more dollars. I like Obama as a human being, but I'm afraid that his very kindness is likely to destroy this country. That's a political statement. Make of it what you will. But I think that you can't help everybody with money. You have to let them learn their lessons. You have to let them make their mistakes. We're at a point now in our economy where I would say let it solve itself. In the very process of trying to solve it for them, they will be giving money to the wrong people and for the wrong reasons, and in time this money that you are getting won't be worth anything. The dollar will no longer be the main currency in the world. We're coming to very hard times. Well, I don't want to go into that too much, but remember that you are not this body. You are not all the circumstances that surround this body. You are just in this world as a guest for a while. Try to be a good guest. Take care of the towels. Don't dirty them too much. Try to make your bed and don't break the furniture. And you'll find that bit by bit, you can contribute a little bit, which is pathetically little, unfortunately, but you can't help it. You're just one person out of billions. And remember that your reality is not this dream. Your reality is the infinite. So always remember, I'm here in this dream, trying to make it a good dream, trying to clean it up and make it function as well as possible, but I always know that my true home is in Him. Joy to you.